Hello, good morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is. My name is Kaiden Michael Young, and today was just like any other day, except it wasn't. Because instead of reaching for my wallet, or my keys, or my phone, I reached for my mask. Yes, I will be talking about COVID, because just like the rest of you, COVID has affected my time here at OU and was a major part of my Unit 2 essay. In that essay, I learned to respect the values of others, understand the opinions of others, and also recognize that having different values than somebody isn't always a bad thing. Now, I've experienced many different things in my 19 years of life, but losing my values is something that I never thought that I would experience. Now, of course, I have changed my values. I have also been able to recognize that I've had terrible values in the past. But I've never actually had to lose my values. That's something that COVID had brought to me that was mostly new. Because the first thing in my Unit 1 essay, the main thing that my Unit 1 essay was about, was camaraderie, the value itself, and also the importance of it. COVID really took that value away from me because I wasn't able to go out there and see my friends or really much my extended family or build even social and new strong bonds with the people that I could be considered friends with here at OU or at high school. But what COVID did teach me was to value the things that you normally take for granted. And that's what led me to go down the rabbit hole of trying to find what other people valued that they normally took for granted. In my Unit 2 essay, I found a certain somebody who considered themselves an anti-masker. Now, I didn't know whether or not I wanted to disclose this information because I wasn't sure if it was necessary or not. But for the sake of the conversation and also for the speech, I feel like it is important for me to tell you that I am fully vaccinated and I am in full support of mandatory masking. With that being said, going into an article with an anti-masker and reading about them and trying to understand their point of view was definitely something that I wasn't very much used to, nor something that I really wanted to do. But it gave me some new insights onto what this person thought and how this person felt and what values they withheld within them. You see, for me, I particularly enjoy the values that I hold most and also the values that I don't really hold most too often. That usually being compassion, camaraderie, friendship, and all other types of ideals. But while I was reading this guy's essay, I started to realize that he had the same ideals as me. This struck me as very odd because I never could have imagined in a million years that an anti-masker, someone who I had been mostly taught through and kind of thought was some mindless, dead nobody who couldn't even think the same way as I did, shared the same values as me. This piqued my interest, and so I kept on reading. And as I read more, I found myself more and more in common with this person. He was a well-educated man, he spoke very eloquently, and he had even written some earlier articles about the importance of masking at peak pandemic. But over time, his thoughts began to wane as the vaccine became more and more available and people started getting more and more vaccinated. And he started to disagree with the whole mandatory masking thing. Now, of course, he presented his own evidence as to why he thought this way. And while I was reading through it, I began to find myself agreeing with a lot of what he said. Now, that doesn't mean that I agreed with everything that he said. There were definitely many things that I felt that I was in the right on, and he was for sure in the wrong, right? Well, that may be a discussion for later. But the point is that I was able to identify with someone who I thought in many ways I would very much disagree with, and in many ways would downright possibly even hate, which is a very strong word coming from someone who obviously had never even met this guy up until reading his article. And that is what English 1113 really taught me. It taught me how to value the values of someone else and realize that sometimes we're not all enemies. In fact, we're all humans. And the fact that we have the same ideals, the same values, just goes to show that usually we're going after the same thing. And that's what struck me as odd in this article that I had read to myself, is that we were going after the same thing. A better world, a better future, something that neither of us could look back on and just think as like a distant memory maybe. And because of that, it made me really relate to this person a lot, because I no longer saw them as an opposition. I saw them as a conversation piece. And that's what's the real important issue here, is that in order to have these conversations, we need to open up. We need to get with our opposition. And that is the most important thing that I feel like English 1113 has taught me. Have a good night, midnight, or whatever time of day it is. Thank you for listening.